Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 16 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was a Uchiha X Namikaze over on Anime King 2, and enjoyed that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new, I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, Hitomi Hyuga made her way as the Hokage gave her a mission to meet up with none other than Crimson Death. That was the name given to Naruto. Menma was called the second coming of the Shoday, given the fact that he was, basically, a new master of the wood style, as most never saw Naruto use his wood style before. But Menma, when it comes towards the Mokidan, he was quite proficient in the art. Not just that, all other sections. The two boys had went crazy for the past 4 years and trained like there was no other. Ever since the massacre that happened, where Naruto slaughtered all of the Stone Ninjas who tried to flee from Konoha, their reputation had spread. As Hitomi met up with him, as she used her Byakugan to see the village and the villagers, she watched Naruto as he moved. She saw him spark for a second and then he was gone. She couldn't understand and she couldn't follow his movements. She watched as he ruthlessly took down the bandits. There was a reason why he was called the Crimson Death. He never ever let anyone alive. No matter how valuable you were, if he was sent to take you down, you were gonna die. As he was known as a heartless monster through the elemental nation. After all, if he's after you, just pray. Pray to Kami that he gave you an easy death because it was gonna be your demise. No matter which way you think it was gonna be. In the past 4 years, a lot have changed. As Naruto had a little baby sister, her name was Katsumi. Itachi was trained to take over his father as clan head. Sasuke had joined the police force, and he was someday gonna be the head of the police force as he was rising through the ranks rather quickly. And as for the Uchiha mistress, that was the name of Sesame, as she had become, well, not as famous as Naruto, but her name has spread because of her powerful visual powers, and not to mention her skill when it comes to her skinjutsu. She was quite efficient in the art. She was just like her brother with her illusion as well. Her mind games were deadly. Sesame was gonna marry Damien, as Mikoto knew that something was wrong because it all happened a year ago when Sesame stopped being friends with Naruto. Neither of them would say what happened, as Mikoto was been trying to find Naruto but he was evading her. She believed that she had a special relationship with him because, unlike most others, he spoke to her. He confided in her, but yet he was being rather scarce lately. He was not showing himself at all, as he just think that everything will be too troublesome. Him and Harrison wasn't on good terms as he called the man an old fool. As things were getting bad, as Minato was warned by Naruto that those ninjas were stone ninjas, not to mention the brigade of ninjas that Menma took out recently was none other than Kumo ninjas, but they were not showing any insignia. There was no proof, so Minato couldn't start anything, and not to mention Konoha has never been the one to start war before, and Minato would not start a war. War was not a nice thing, and no one wanted that, but Kumo and the stone were pushing things, and they were getting dangerous. Kushina came by Naruto's apartment after Naruto threw out Menma, as he was getting too annoying, as she told him that she wanted to talk to him, as he told her after he took out Katsumi, as he brought her on his shoulders. She was happy that Naruto was trying his best to make Katsumi happy, because the girl think of the world of Naruto. She saw him as some sort of god that she wanted to praise. She loved her brother so much. She liked Minma, but she loved Naruto especially more. Maybe even more than them, it was strange. That night though, as Naruto did not return, he was at the bar, as Anko strolled up to him. She told him that Kurnan was pissed at him because of what he did to Hana. As she saw the look on his face, he did not even knew who that name belonged to. Well, she has heard the reputation about him, and not to mention the way he spoke. His cool, calm tone. Well, she knew what she wanted and he knew what he wanted. But otherwise, Minato and Kushina was getting worried, mostly Kushina, as Naruto was changing for the worse. Because of what was happening to him, she didn't know what he was thinking. She couldn't predict him at all. At the hidden stone, as Jiraiya, one of his spies, had gathered intel that Orochimaru was on the move, as he quickly sent that information back to Konoha. So yeah guys, that's basically that's what I thought. If you guys can switch across the place, check it for yourself. So we'll see you in this new episode. The Sage of Six Paths was said to be a god amongst men. A man that literally crafted the moon. After all, if you had such power, you're not bound to the mere mortality of this world. Such a man saw himself. His name was Nagato Uzumaki. He saw himself as a god, a being that was destined to change this world for the better, and he would stop at nothing to achieve that goal. He had the power, he had the organization, but something was eluding him, and that was the things that he needed. Konan came into the room as she looked towards Nagato. As he was in his mechanical walker, Zetsu has not been able to locate them so far. Nagato went into deep thought. The world was at the edge of a war. They just needed one single activity that was started. Kumo and the stone. As already shown their dislike of Konoha, Kirin was currently under the control of Mei Terumi. Because of Konoha efforts. Well, because of two people in particular. But it was still Konoha efforts in the reason for helping the rebellion. As that day had shown that Naruto Uzumaki, or Naruto Senju, and Menma Uzumaki or Senju, whatever you call them, the Crimson Death or the second coming of the Shoday, they were two deadly people. The both of them was all that it took for them to enter into the rebel forces and join Mei Terumi's side. They decimated the approaching force, and Mei Terumi took down Yagura and fortified their position as 5th Mizukage. Kirin, Konoha had great death, especially those two boys. So Kirin was most likely going to side with Konoha on this. The Sand was with Konoha, so it was 3 against 2. But Kirin had just come out of Civil War, so it's going to be hard for them to find the manpower to enter another battle. And Kumo and the Stone had more dangers than any other hidden villages. Not to mention the Three Tails are yet to reform since the death of Yagura. But it will reform soon. But that was not the problem. The world was at a standby and soon enough something will trigger the deaths of war. But the thing that Nagato hated right now was the tail beasts. All of them were confined to their home. None of the tail beasts were being released. Everyone was keeping their top guns to themselves. Even Onki called back Roshi and Han. Two of them were not in the village for a long while, as Onki had given them free roam to do what they want to do at the Earth border. But now they had been called back to the village. Same for Kumo. Gaara was the Kazekage. So, the tail beasts were under tight lock. Zetsu was not able to pinpoint them, because they were waiting for the time for them to use their ultimate weapons. And knowing that Naruto and Menma has a proficient in Fuinjutsu, that is why they kept their tail beasts away, and Zetsu has not been able to locate them. As Konan spoke once again, Onki has been reaching out to us to once again use our services. In the past, Onki has used their services many times before. About what? Asked Nagato. Despite his frail form, he had this ominous glow about him, especially those eyes. That is something that he wished to discuss with me, but he said that he will pay handsomely. As she looked towards Nagato, go. If this involves Konoha or any of the other hidden villages, report back to me immediately. What are you planning, said Konan. At the current time things are not in our favor, but in a war, who knows what can happen. Nagato had a plan, and he was gonna see that it come through. Meanwhile, sitting down on a cliff, looking down the rushing water was none other than the masked man. The one that changed Naruto for the worse, that took his sister from him. As he smirked to himself, He looked up to the heavens. The fourth great ninja war. He thought he would be the one to start it for something that he wanted, but it didn't seem so anymore. As he smiled to himself, he knew it was coming, everyone knew. It was only a matter of time for something to push everyone over the edge. Naruto Uzumaki. The Crimson Death. I guess my intervening in your life has changed you for the better or the worse. We have yet to see. The man chuckled to himself. The situations were playing out, and he liked how things were going so far. The ruthlessness in that boy. Well, he will be handled when time comes. Meanwhile, that same boy was currently making his way. The moment Naruto stepped through the door, he was grabbed, chains wrapped around his arms, and pulled him and threw him down on the sofa. As they bound him to the sofa. Is this really necessary? Said Naruto. Standing above him was a pissed off Kushina as he punched him over the head. Ow, said Naruto as he looked up at her. What was that for? You told me that you would show. I waited so long for you. I even cooked for you. Yeah, I saw it in the fridge. Thanks for that. I should have thrown it out after. You disrespect me like that by not showing up, she said. As Naruto sighed, can you release me please, he asked. She grumbled, but she released him. Where's my sister, he asked. She's with her friends. Mainma? He's with Sakura. Grandma? Hospital. Father? Work. As Naruto looked towards her, sit down, he said. As she sat down right in front of him. I told you that we need to talk. I've been hearing some things around the village. They're all true, said Naruto. She took a deep breath. You're my son. And I love you despite everything. But you going around with these women, it is not helping your image. Or you at all, she said. I know. Then why? For a moment of calm. Perhaps pleasure, he said. He spoke, he was just calm as he looked towards her. There was no emotions being shown. Well, she didn't know if he had any anymore. Talk to me, Naruto, she said. You know that despite everything I still love you, and I don't want to lose you, she said. Despite how angry I might get, punch you, hit you, you're my son, and nothing will ever change that. I know, said Naruto. Then talk to me, she said. You want to know why I didn't show up last night? Yes. Were you intending to ask me about what happened between me and Sesame? Yes, she said to him. Promise me that you won't tell anyone, he said. What did you do, she asked. Promise me, he said. I promise. What happened? This is for her sake, not for mine. Because if it's up to me, I don't mind telling you. But a part of me tells me that if I was to reveal this out to the open, it wouldn't be good for her image. What do you mean? You know we've been spending a lot of time together. Yes, that is what confused me, she said, for the past 3 years. You two have been going on missions, spending a lot of time together. For a moment there I thought that something might happen between you two. Something did, he said. Huh? She blinked in surprise. We went on a mission at the border. We were supposed to scout. It was a long night. We were talking. And she confessed to me. She confessed? She told me that she always liked me. And that she wanted to be with me. Kushina sighed. She understand now. Let me guess. You turned her down. Worse, said Naruto. I made sure that it would never happen. Why? Because if I did, I would have just ended up hurting her. She looked towards him confused. You know my situation, Mom. I never told her. I don't know how this thing goes or how long it might last. In the journal, he said he doesn't know either. So, if I do, tell her I felt something for her. I would just be lying. So I made sure to tell her that something between us would never work. She was hurt, deep and so. And then I went around just causing more chaos by sleeping with all those women, said Kushner. Yes. After that, we just stopped talking. I knew it hurt her, but I couldn't find it in myself to actually feel anything. So if I had accepted the request, I would have just made it worse. Kushner looked towards Naruto with a sorrowful gaze. You were just doing this to protect her. Yes, said Naruto. I knew that she's my friend. Someone that's precious to me. But now, I don't feel anything. Kushner feels for him. Yeah, said Naruto. Usually, there's always been this tick in the back of my mind to tell me I have to do this and that, but it's slowly vanishing. I can barely hear it anymore. What do you mean? Nothing seemed to matter. This me going around doing all these things, it's just a chance of experiencing and feeling something because of those emotions. What am I? Am I even alive? Am I even alive, he said. Despite everything, his tone was calm. He wasn't angry or anything. Nothing was being shown. Over the past couple of years, I trained myself to hell and back to make sure I can get revenge on those guys who took me to a way. As Kushner felt a ping of hurt hearing Mito's name. But now, there is nothing. Nothing at all. So even if I were to find them and end them, there would be nothing. So you won't know why I didn't show up. That's the reason. Because there's absolutely nothing, and slowly, but surely everything is getting worse. Now, there's just emptiness. And all I can feel is the raw desire to just fight. Whenever I do fight, there is something. It's not an emotion, it's just something raw and negative. And I'm afraid. As much as I don't want to say that I'm afraid that the more it goes on, it's going to consume me. Yet I cannot stop. As he was speaking, his lips turned up into a smile. As Kushner saw the look on his face, it was dreadful. It's unbearable. But despite that, it has made me focus. I can focus, I can think on my feet, I can move, I can react. Without second guessing myself, because there was nothing, no emotion holding me back that made me the perfect killer, the perfect weapon, the perfect one to bring nothing but chaos and destruction. So that's the reason I didn't show up. Because I know that it will hurt you even more, despite knowing that I don't feel a single thing. He looked up towards his mother, who was in tears. Before he could say a single word, she slammed right into him. He didn't budge where she was. As she crashed into him, she hugged him tightly. Tears were in her eyes. She never knew that he was hurting this much. She knew that his emotions were slowly diminishing. But it wasn't even hurting him because he couldn't feel anything. He could not cry. He couldn't even control his face muscles most of the time because he didn't remember how to smile. It was more of a reflex at this point. As she felt pain in her chest, just thinking about how much her son was in pain. And for everyone that he has been trying to do his best. Even for Katsume, it was just a show. But he has been trying to make his little sister be happy. And that just made her love him even more. Despite not feeling that thing. He was trying, but it was failing. And she was putting down pressure on him and trying to find out. That is why he was keeping his distance. Because he didn't want to hurt them. Even now, despite her crying, he knew that he should be sad, but he didn't feel a damn thing. And he hated himself for that. He didn't feel nothing. Nothing at all. Suddenly, someone spoke at the intercom at the gates. Senju-san, Hokage-sama requests your presence. As Naruto looked down towards his mother, I'll be right there, he said. Kushner broke away. As Naruto reached up and took her face as he wiped her tears. I didn't know, she said. And you kept this away from me. I didn't know. It's okay, said Naruto. As he got to his feet. I'm sorry I'm putting you through so much pain. No. You're in worse shape than me. Yet you have been trying your best, but it's not working. I don't know what to do, she said. I don't know how to help you. As Naruto came over, as he forced the best smile he could, and she saw that smile in his face. She knew it was fake, but for a moment she wanted to believe that there was reality in that smile. Perhaps it will change. Perhaps I'll return back normal one day. I just hope you can bear with me. Of course, she said. I'm your mother, and no matter what, I'll never lose faith in you. I'm happy to know that, he said. Now, I must go. Time skip. As Naruto stood in the office, in front of Minato, Minato was stern, he was serious. As Menma was standing to his left, as Minato tossed 2 scrolls towards him as he caught it. What's this? Said Naruto. One of Jiraiya's spies have infiltrated Orochimaru. Sound rants, and he was finally able to get actual information on where Orochimaru is going to move to next. That is why he's been eluding us for the past couple of years. And that is a detailed description of where he will pass through. Passing by the land of fire, underground he'll be making his way towards Kaminari Kone. I want you guys to go and find him and eliminate him once and for all. This could be a trap, said Menma. Orochimaru's a smart man. Perhaps he lured Jiraiya's spy out by giving off this false information. It doesn't matter, he will be there, said Naruto. Because if there's anything else that he wants in his world, it's my eyes. Minato was not worried. He knew how powerful his sons were. Despite the world not knowing their full extent of power, Minato knew. That is why he was not worried at all. It shall be done, said Naruto. Be careful, said Minato. I'm counting on you too. As the both of them nodded, before they flashed away. Time skip. The both of them were set up at the border. Orochimaru weren't due to pass through here for a couple of hours, so they can wait. That is why the snake has been eluding them for the past couple of years. He has been switching ever so often to make sure that no one would find his tail anytime soon. Orochimaru is a problem that needs to be dealt with in this world right now. He needs to die, because there was more important things to deal with. Not to think about a mad snake freak that is going around, trying to destroy Konoha and all that it stands for. As Menma activate the seal. With this seal they didn't have to worry about intruders. It cloaked them. A bit of genjutsu dabbed in. No one could see them, or even hear them because of the sound barrier. And the moment someone even comes close to the area, they will be notified. As Menma sat down, as he got to work on campfire, it even blocked away all the light and everything. As Naruto was looking at the stars, as Menma looked towards his brother, he has been strangely quiet. You good? Said Menma. Yeah, said Naruto. If we do find him, we'll actually get some revenge for what happened in the past. I know, said Naruto. You don't seem to feel anything about this. No, said Naruto. I know you're having a tough time, said Menma. I don't want to be a burden on that. Huh. Given the fact that you've always been annoying, I don't see how you can be a burden. Oh, he makes jokes, said Menma. As Naruto walked over and sat down, I'm not gonna get all up in your business. I know if you don't want to talk about something, I'm not gonna push you. Alright? That's all I ever wanted to hear, said Naruto. After all, you were being rather annoying. You know, the next time you put a seal on me and try to do that, I'm gonna punch you in your face, said Menma. You can try, said Naruto. But what is gonna happen if I blocked it? Well, we're gonna fight, Menma said. And what's gonna happen then, said Naruto. Perhaps I'll win. Huh, you wish, said Naruto. As Menma simply laughed. So you think you're better than me now? I don't think. I know so. Oh, bold words. And yet we haven't yet pushed ourselves to limit against each other. Because if we do that, it will cause too much unwanted attention, and not to mention too much destruction. We would need an entire valley to fight in. Perhaps something big like the final valley. Maybe one day when we're done, we can shape this world. If you say so, said Menma. You know, I've been noticing something, said Naruto. And what's that? You've been hanging out with Sakura a lot more lately. As Menma narrowed his eyes. Yeah? What about it? Oh, nothing, said Naruto. I'm just curious. Go ahead and ask, Menma said. Thought you were in Hinata. Things didn't work out so good, Menma said as he rolled back of his head. What do you mean by that? Well, Since everything, we we just don't have a lot in common. We barely talk, and it's awkward. I I just well, we kind of stopped following up that. We're still friends, but we we didn't take a extra step forward. So, you like soccer now? Well, I can't lie, I do. Over the past couple of years, she has changed a lot, especially under grandmother tutelage. She's the second best medic name in the village, you know that, right? And also her strength, she's almost stronger, or perhaps even stronger than grandma already. Perhaps, said Naruto. But the question is, does she feel the same way? Well, we've been getting close lately, but nothing has been happening. She's a nice girl, and I enjoy hanging out with her. I can't say I would be against the idea of the both of us hooking up. Although I've heard some things about you, said Minma. Jealous of your big brother now, said Naruto. Of course not, Minma said. Why the hell would I be jealous? Maybe because I've been the actual woman. And have actual fun, said Naruto. While you're just at home, being a little baby. As Minma eyebrow twitched. You know, sometimes you can be a real jackass when you want to be. Yeah, I know that, said Naruto as he sat down. You know I'm here for you, right, said Minma. Of course, said Naruto. I just want to make sure you know that. Despite everything, you're never alone. As Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder. I know that. I have all of you, he said. Time skip. I told you that nothing happened. We're just no longer friends. Look, I'm not here to rile you up or anything, said Damon. Damon has grown over the past couple of years. He was much more taller. And he thought that he was some kind of a god when it came towards his looks. Despite his many attempts to outpace Naruto in every way. Well, he had to bring up looks. But in actuality, when it came towards looks, Naruto knocked him out of the park. He didn't stand a chance in hell. But he thought that he was better looking in all sense of the idea. Well, he was a big dreamer, and people would allow him to dream. But that was not the big issue here. He thought that he won. He finally won. Because he had Sesame. He had her. And Naruto did not. Naruto failed. He didn't know what happened between them, and that was bugging him. Because he thought it could be something that could be fixed. And if they do intend to fix it, would they go back to being friends? Because that would seriously, well, it will shake his relationship with her. Despite their so-called engagement to be married, they haven't done anything. Kissed, hold hands, nothing. They've talked, been on a date because they eat food together, but it's nothing really formal. But nothing else. He was quite sure that she was just doing this because of her loyalty to the clan. But he believed with time he could get her to love him, as he has loved her for all these years. But every time he asked, she always shut him down. She walked away from him. She was angry now, and it's best that he just leave her be. He didn't know why he was always bringing it up, but he just wanted to know what happened between them. What was she not telling him? But she refused to tell him, and that kind of made him angry. But it doesn't matter what he did. She wouldn't tell him now. He would just have to wait and see. But if one thing's for certain, he won, and Naruto lost. He was with her, and Naruto was done for. They were not even friends anymore. Something that made him incredibly happy. Sesame arrived at her local tea shop, as she preferred the one outside of the Uchiha compound. The tea was just much more, it just had something about it. As she was sipping her tea, her mind was frustrated at that damn Damien. He was always trying to find out what happened, but she wouldn't tell him. She believed that was her privacy. She didn't know if Naruto tell other people. Well, it wasn't her job to keep his mouth. If he won't tell other people, that was up to him. They were not friends anymore anyway. She heard the door open, but she did not look, as she was focused on her tea. She has been feeling rather depressed lately. She knew when it started. Ah, Sesame. Sesame turned as she saw Kushner standing there. Kushina-sensei says to me with a smile. Can I join you? Said Kushina. Sure, as Kushina sat down. So, what brings you out here? Asked Sesame. Well, I was just in the neighborhood. Thought I'll pick up a few things. As Sesame simply smiled. Get to it. What do you mean? Said Kushina. You want to know what happened between me and your son. You're the only person that never asked me, despite us seeing each other in more than one occasions. So I figure you would like to know. But it's nothing really important, he told me. As Sesame blinked. He did? Well, I guess he would. You are his mother after all. Well, I was able to pry the information out of him. Well then, you understand why we can no longer be friends, right? Yes. But there's something you need to know. Huh? Look, I trust you. You have been the sweetest, nicest girl growing up. Up till now. I've seen you as nothing but a raising hope. Someone that was different from any other Uchiha or anyone else. You just have this light about you. To keep your family safe, keep your village safe, you have it. The will of fire burns strongly inside of you. As much as I hate to sound like guy right now, your youth is overflowing in flames. I say Sesame giggle at that. And I've seen you as a daughter growing up the entire time. Really? Yeah. But there's something you need to know. The reason why Naruto did what he did. Why he blew me off. Why he refused to speak to me, and then I heard that he went around and slept with several other girls after I just confessed my feelings to him. Yeah, said Kushina. But you have to promise me, swear to me that you will never, ever tell anyone else about this. I'm just trying my best here to help the both of you along. Help us along. Kushina-san, I'm engaged. Look, the both of us know that you don't really want to be with Demon. I spoke to your mother. She knows it as well. Your mother knew what I'm about to tell you about Naruto, but she's my best friend. I told her to keep that secret, so she did. So please don't blame her. Come with me. Sesame got up as she followed Kushina. This seemed really serious. Did something happen to Naruto? Was he going through something she did not know? But she was gonna find out. Meanwhile, a red-haired girl was currently making her way. She didn't know why she had to be the one to do this. As she pushed up her glasses, as she made her way calmly. Well, she was the best sensor out of everyone in his entire village. But she wasn't a good fighter, and she could die, so she was afraid. As she was looking around cautiously, as she spread her senses around, as she felt something click. She was being watched. This was strange. How did they get so close to her without her noticing? She quickly twitched her left finger, her pinky finger, as she gave off the signal. Meanwhile, hundreds of kunais were thrown towards the bushes, where Naruto and Menma were, as they exploded, obliterating the bushes. The girl with the glasses red hair ran. She ran. The moment she did, the ground underneath her feet broke. Several ninjas rooted up from the ground, as they all had blades in their hand, kunai shurikens. They all had a sound insignia on their forehead. Indeed, this was a trap for Konoha ninjas, one that Orochimaru wanted especially. As Kabuto walked out into the clearing. So, my dear, Karin-chan, he said as a girl appeared beside him. Who is it? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Said Kabuto confused. They're chakra. It makes no sense. Kabuto's eyes went wide as he grabbed one of the foot soldiers beside him and yanked him, as a sword severed the man's head clean off. Karin was shocked. How the hell did he got so near without her sensing? She then turned, only to come face to face with those eyes, colorful eyes that mesmerized her. As Menma pulled this blade away from the ninja's neck after trying to remove Kabuto's head, Kabuto used the momentum to throw a kunai in the air As Naruto watched the kunai multiply, he moved back and so did Menma as they sprang towards all directions surrounding them. It was like the ground was magnetized. Both boys had to block and dodge. Karen, go. Your services are no longer required. As Naruto watched as the girl ran, something about her, that hair, that aura around her. As Karen turned as she looked towards Naruto, as the both of them looked at each other before she fled. The moment she stepped into the woods, someone else stepped out, a girl with blue hair, as she smiled, as she was wearing a strange green obi, with a strange rope wrapped around her stomach area. Ah, Gurren, you made it just on time. Would you mind? Said Kabuto. As Gurren flashed two hands and she slammed her hand down. Jade Crystal Prison, she said, as Naruto watched as a massive crystal encased them all. Laughter, as one of the foot soldiers ripped off his face to reveal Orochimaru, as the others separated from him. So this was a trap, said Naruto. Smart boy, and yet you walked directly into it. I must say I was quite worried when Karen didn't seem to pick up your chakra for a moment there. And then I almost forgot that you two were masters in Kondora's Poinjutsu. But you're playing on my turn now, said Orochimaru. It's been years, Naruto-kun, and those precious eyes of yours has only grown. The more I wait, the stronger you become. I'm not even sure what your current strength level is, but I'm sure that you've surpassed almost every Jonin in your village. I heard a rumor once that you were almost as strong as your father, or perhaps even stronger. Did he told you I would be out here? So you found the spy, said Menma. Ah, Menma-kun, said Orochimaru. Your Mokitan has excelled over the past couple of years. And I must say, to tinker with your blood to find out the secrets, to fully get a gene that is so potent with the Mokitan, it will be amazing. Kabuto, said Naruto as he ignored Orochimaru. You tricked us. To think that you were in the exam, pretending to be a Konoha ninja. Well, it's all a part of the act, Naruto-kun. After all, there's only one person I serve, and that's my master, Orochimaru-sama. You're going to die today, said Naruto. Bold claim, said Kabuto. Do you believe you could do so? As Naruto looked around as he looked towards Menma, as Naruto had his blade in his hand, as Orochimaru licked his lips, and they moved. Orochimaru regurgitated Kusanagi as the clash with Naruto's sparks went everywhere. Gurren rushed in, as their job was to subdue him as fast as possible. The other flankies went after Menma, as Kabuto was also going after Menma as well. Gurren twisted her hand as she sent several shurikens made from crystal towards Naruto, who did the same thing as they cancelled each other's attack. I heard that you might have my ability. It's quite interesting to see how another used it. She had to duck as her hair was sliced off. She blinked in shock. He's fast. She turned as Naruto slammed his foot in her gut. Her crystal body was supposed to handle it though, but it cracked. As Naruto's hand and feet, his clothing had small tiny shards of crystal over it to pierce through her defense. Gurren coughed up blood as Naruto backhanded her. She was sent sailing as she crashed into the own crystal wall as she collapsed. As Naruto moved and dropped down on her, Gurren's eyes went wide, but his blade was blocked. A large gash came on her face as Orochimaru felt the pressure as Naruto clashed his blade with his, as the tip of Naruto's blade sliced her face, instead of taking off her neck completely. She released several more shurikens at point blank range, only for Naruto to twist his body. A snake came from Orochimaru's sleeve and grabbed Naruto. As Naruto performed a single hand sign, his body got hot. Molten lava leaked from him that melted the snake into ash as Gurren jumped away. Wood style, nativity of the Sea of Trees. The ground erupted as the crystals was shattered. It couldn't handle the strain of the earth being torn apart, the massive trunks rooting out of the earth, picking up and ripping apart the crystal. As Naruto flipped and landed on one of the trees, All the foot soldiers except for Kabuto was scared as Kabuto launched himself away, quickly getting away from all the massive ride of trees. Deep forest bloom, said Menma, as the pollens start to bloom and release a gas. Orochimaru leaped away, moving, running as fast as possible away from that gas, as if that got into his senses it would put him out of commission. This was not going as he expected. Well, at least he came prepared, as Orochimaru leaped away as Gurren landed beside him, as the entire area that they were standing before was now changed. As Orochimaru saw the two silhouettes standing in the smoke, the two boys are standing there. As Orochimaru watched them, they weren't moving. Orochimaru licked his lips. He then raised his hand. "Now, Gurren," he said, as Gurren released a crystal shard that exploded in mid-air, deep underground, where Orochimaru was going to transport his decrepit monsters. They start to emerge. As these things could barely be saints, because they were actually no longer human. Their chakra was mixed with something quite vile and grotesque. All the seals were released and the monsters started rising from the earth. As Orochimaru and Gurren moved back, because these things were unstable, they had extra limbs, extra eyes. The monsters emerged from the ground as they looked towards Menma and Naruto. Orochimaru wasn't sure if those monsters could stand the pollen that Naruto released. Orochimaru was quite sure that Menma was the one that stopped the pollen from going too far, because if that was a spread in the natural air, it would put many people to sleep. The boy had such control over the Mokuton already, it was just beyond impressive. As Naruto's cold eyes settled on the monsters, before his body started to get electrified, there was literally hundreds of them. As Naruto placed his hands together, swift release, combination Uzumaki style, dancing crescent blade, he said. As Naruto's body started to get electrified, swift release, a combination of wind and lightning, boosting your speed towards another level completely. His body was pushed into overdrive, veins bulged into his face, his arms got tight, as his speed was compact inside his chest before he released it, as he vanished. Orochimaru just saw flickers, like Minato using the Harashin. That confused him because no one up to this day knew that Naruto had this ability. It was a dangerous ability, swift release, and it requires so much chakra that even a second of this would have drained a normal Chunin. Just a single second. That was how much chakra the thing required. A Jonin couldn't even last a good minute doing this ability. That was just how powerful it was. Your body was pushed into overdrive, your chakra was being used up like fuel. And it also left you rather hungry as well. But now wasn't time to complain about that. Orochimaru thought that he could use those monsters as a distraction and then he could catch Naruto off guard. Gurren, Orochimaru said she was too focused on the flashes in front of her to notice. Gurren brought up her arm as Menma fist connected with it. Her eyes went wide when she heard the snapping motion as her arm snapped under the force of Menma enhanced fists. He drove her into the ground. Orochimaru leaped as the ground exploded. It was torn apart, obliterated. When the smoke cleared, Gurren was coughing up blood violently as her entire side was caved in and destroyed. As she was twitching on the ground, Orochimaru was shocked. It seems like he was, if not stronger than Tsunade, almost. One punch and Gurren was down. Not even her crystal armor could save her from that wood style, laughing Buta-jutsu, said Menma as hands erupted from the ground. Wooden arms forced Orochimaru to slip away as he slipped and leaped and twisted his body in all kinds of motions. He then turned as a fist slammed into his throat. Orochimaru coughed as he felt his throat being crushed by the fist. His body was thrown as he crashed down on the ground. He moved as the ground was obliterated by Naruto's feet. As Orochimaru got back up as he spewed out another fresh Orochimaru, Orochimaru watches all of his experiments were gone. They were dead. Orochimaru stepped back in shock Seconds, or probably a minute. That was all it took him. Orochimaru didn't know what the hell happened because he didn't see it. That couldn't just be raw speed. Did this boy know the Hiraishin? But yet there was no shurikens. Just what the hell was going on? As Naruto was sweating a bit. He wasn't using the fox power, just his normal chakra. That just showed you what quantity of chakra he had. Well, he was a Senju and a Uzumaki. His chakra was powerful. And the capability, not to mention his coils being stretched, for all of his life, it was large. Immensely so. But still, moving around at such high velocity, it took a lot out of him. But not enough to put him down. He was still on his feet, and still ready to fight. Orochimaru cursed as he took his eyes off Menma. The ground exploded and a wood dragon came out and wrapped him around. He tried to slip out of it, but tiny wooden spears stabbed into his body as he coughed up blood. He quickly once again ejected from his mouth as he started to flee. His lower half, being a snake, he started to flee away. A distance away, Kabuto was having a warm time facing off against 3 tigers who stood in front of him. Damn it, he couldn't even help his master, and not to mention a monkey with a staff in its hand as he moved as the thing obliterated the ground. He cursed once again. Meanwhile, Karen was running. Her job was done and she was supposed to get back to the hideout and supposed to make her way underground. She was just brought here to be used as a sensor. It was her job to tell if there was anyone of worth there. If Orochimaru didn't see anyone good enough, he wouldn't have shown himself. Or he wouldn't have brought out Gorin. But given the fact that Karen had given the signal, but she overestimated everything because she gave the signal without knowing. But it was just because the thing was so close. She had no idea how the hell they got so close to her without her sensing it. Karen stopped as someone landed in front of her. She stepped back. How did you find me? It was my job to, said Menma, as a wood clone of Menma stood in front of her. He raised his hand as wooden vines erupted from his sleeve and wrapped around her. She tried to flee, but they restrained her tight. As he stepped forward, "You're lucky it's me that found you. Otherwise, you'd have been dead," said Menma. As he then placed 2 fingers on her forehead as she fell asleep. This girl was different. Her bright red hair, and not to mention there was something about her, as Menma could sense it. If he was not mistaken, she had this well of chakra inside of her that felt strangely like Uzumaki genes. Meanwhile, Gorin was picked up and brought away, as Menma did not kill her even though she was suffering from a bad wound to the side. She was being taken care of by one of his clones. It wasn't Naruto doing any of this, because if it was him, he'd have killed him a long time ago. But Menma saw something valuable in this girl. She was by Orochimaru's side, so perhaps she knew more than she was letting on, although he would have loved to catch Kabuto. He doubted that the man was going to stay behind if the summons could hold him back. After all, he's slippery like his master. But Gorin was valuable intel. They needed that. Meanwhile, blades clashed against blades. As Orochimaru turned as he saw Naruto open his mouth, snakes flew out of his mouth as Naruto flashed through a single hand sign. "Boil release," he said, evaporating slice, as he spewed a concentrated blast of steam from his mouth that was funneled down to the finest point. Orochimaru cried as the things pierced right through his snake and teared through his shoulder, as he lost mobility in his arm for a second, and that was all the second that Naruto needed to deliver a brutal kick to Orochimaru's face. A satisfying cracking sound could be heard as the man was launched backwards, as Menma dropped from the sky and stomped into the man's stomach. Orochimaru coughed up blood as Menma twisted his blade. Orochimaru's hands erupted into snakes as he tried to bite Menma in the neck. He twisted as he took off their heads, as Orochimaru then melted away into mud, leaving behind an explosive tag that swallowed the entire area. The explosion turned everything to a desolate wasteland. That wasn't a normal explosive tag. A distance away, as Orochimaru was fleeing, this wasn't going as he expected. Not at all. That was when he heard ice release. Desolate wasteland. Orochimaru cried as it happened so fast. Hundreds of ice spikes tore into his flesh, stopping his momentum as he ripped into his body trying to pierce his heart. He quickly opened his mouth as he once again fly straight out of it and crashed into a tree. He climbed up the tree as fast as possible, going onto the tallest branch before leaping. He went through handstand wing style, great wing breakthrough, as he used the momentum to propel himself straight up in the sky. Ninja art, baboon style, cosmic staffs and a voice. Orochimaru looked up as he saw several staffs above his head that were large. As they came down now, boom! The ground obliterated as Orochimaru's half got squashed under the attack. It was like a chain as they came smashing down. Wood style. Friction's vine, said Menma as he slammed his hand down, as vines erupted from the ground and wrapped around Orochimaru's body. While the giant staff, a technique that he learned from the great ape sage, as Orochimaru was tied tightly before he had to resort to what he could only do in this situation. He opened his mouth. But this time, it wasn't another body came out. It was a strange creature that was made up of snakes. All white snakes. As Orochimaru snarled, How could they push him this far? Minato did it in the past, but them, these boys, no, they were no longer boys. I warned you that if we ever meet each other again, you will die. And yet you show your disgusting face in front of me, you decrepit snake. Orochimaru snarled. I am Orochimaru the Sannin, and you two boys cannot bring me to my knees. I will outlive you all, surpass you all. None of you can make me bow down to your commands, he said. It has been 4 years, Snake, said Menma. We pushed ourselves like hell for 4 years, up to the point where we had to enter the hospital on several occasions because we nearly died. And if we can't take something as pathetic as you down, then what was the point of that? Orochimaru snarled. You think that you can take me down? Me? Of course we can, said Naruto. After all, it's not like you're gonna leave here alive. As the sky started to tremble, the sky itself started to crackle with lightning. The heavens started to cry as rain started to pour down on the three of them. As the lightning started to get more electrified, as Naruto's hands sparkled, and the three of them moved. But guys, we'll be in this episode right here. If you want the next part, then do like, subscribe, comment down below, turn on the bell notifications to stay posted. But for now, see you guys soon. Peace.